Okay then, guys. Now, if you've been listening to the station for a while, you know that we love the bands that break the mold. Bands that look at traditional genre lines, laugh, stick the finger up, and then tear them right down. Now, back in 2008, today's guest did exactly that by crashing the UK metal scene with a wild, high-octane cocktail of melodic death metal, crushing metalcore, and massive, glowing Eurotrance synths. They pioneered a sound that the underground dubbed trance-metal. From winning Kerrang unsigned live to dropping cult classics like Duplicity, Mind Games, and their fucking fierce collaborative record Turn to Grey, they have consistently carved out their own unique sonic space. So right now, I am incredibly hyped and honoured to welcome the voice and the frontman of Silent Descent to the show, Tom Watling. Tom, welcome to the show, mate.
Hi, dude. You're too kind. You're too kind.
Thank you very much. Now, we've got to start with the blueprint itself. Now, you guys were drastically ahead of the curve when it came to fusing heavy riffs with DJ and trance elements long before electronic core became a mainstream staple. Now, looking back at your early days versus how modern heavy music completely embraces electronics now, do you feel like the scene tastemakers and audiences have finally caught up to what Silent Descent was doing over a decade ago?
Yeah. um, if you, I mean, if you look back at the time and the time that it was, you had quite a few bands starting to introduce that kind of electronic kind of synthy side into alternative music. I want to say metal into alternative music. You had Enter Shikari at the time were very, very small, but they were blowing up very, very quickly. You had like more local bands like Hadouken, who are more your kind of indie vibe, but then they still had their electronic in there. And Pendulum were taking a swing from being like just straight up Rob Swire and drum and bass to becoming more of a full-on band experience. And Prodigy were doing the same with Invaders Must Die. So I think, in fairness, the music scene was gearing in that direction. I was very pleased that we were on the map of it was. I think it was something called the Map of Metal back in the day, and they had all the different genres of metal. And underneath trance metal, it was us and Bloodstained Child, a band from Japan who we know. Funnily enough, that we got on with those guys. Never gigged, but nearly did. So it was us and Bloodstained Child. And a band called Crossfaith as well. I don't know if you know Crossfaith, but I think we kind of pushed that movement into the more of the metalcore scene. But yeah, I think things were going that way, and it's great that it has come around that way. I still don't think there's anyone who quite sounds like us or took it the way that we did it. But now it's kind of like it's a foregone conclusion, really, isn't it? That you're going to get elements of synth and you're going to get elements of keyboard and more that anthemic sounds and stuff like that. And there's a lot of great bands out there doing it now. So yeah, I'm pleased about it.
But there's none that are Silent Descent.
No, there's none that's Silent Descent. We had a little formula when we, me and my boy Paul, the keyboardist from Silent Descent, we met at Northwest Kent. Did you go to Northwest Kent College at any point?
I did.
You did go to Northwest Kent College. So me and Paul met there on the first day I was there. He arrived as I don't know what he came as really. He came as a guitarist, I think. So we did the music performance. I arrived as a drummer because as a metal vocalist, you've got limited scope with different music projects. But Paul was there as a guitarist, but comparing the things that we really liked at the time, on the first day he introduced me to Skindred, who were really quite small back then as well, like Skindred and a band called Shell Shock, who combined like drum and bass with metal. And I was like, oh dude, I need you in. You need to come in. And Paul's very, very gifted musician. He can play, he's got perfect pitch, just plays by ear. And he just lent himself to the keyboard, and after that the rest was history, really. Got himself a little micro Korg, and yeah, made some big synthy sounding stuff for what became Duplicity.
And that is, I mean, it's just an absolute wall of sound. I mean, your style, it relies on these massive synth hooks layered under these really awesome grooves. Now, from a performance perspective, how do you approach writing vocal lines that can actually compete with that level of electronic energy and heavy guitars without being completely buried in the mix? Because your biggest influence is Corey Taylor, isn't it?
Yeah, well, one of them for sure. I think I grew up listening to all like the new metal greats. So like your Corns, your Limp Bizkit, your System of a Down, your Linkin Parks, your all of that kind of stuff, and that's what introduced me to this scene of music. But I've always thought where I found my comfort zone was something more in the realms of punk, really, and Silent Descent isn't really a punky band, but I'm more of a punky kind of new metal influenced kind of vocalist. And putting the two together, man, they worked quite well. That you've got to give yourself air within the mix, because otherwise there's so much going on. And I think within Duplicity, we're a bit naive when we first put it all together. We wanted all the best things that we thought sounded really, really cool and lots of different ideas. But in hindsight, actually, I think by not following some of those rules, it did make us stand out.
And speaking of that sound, so you was talking about how you guys met at Northwest Kent. That would have been 2004, 2006. So let's jump forward then a couple of years later to 2008. Now you guys played Bloodstock Open Air. You shared the weekend with some extreme metal royalty, Opeth, At the Gates. Back then, Bloodstock was notoriously famous for being a fortress for absolute traditional purist metalheads. Now, what was the backstage vibe like for you guys rolling up to Captain Park with these new sounds that you had, and how hard did you have to work to win over that crowd?
I didn't. I didn't work at all. I didn't work at all. I mean, I was a bit immature at that point in my knowledge of even. That was the first time I went to Bloodstock. I was still really, really quite young. It's the first time I went up there, and we'd gone from literally a few months ago being not heard by many people to being heard by everyone. We were in Metal Hammer and Power Play, and we got some really, really, really good reviews. And then from some of the metal elitists, we got absolutely torn. And that was a lot to contend with at the time, because I didn't think anyone would care that much, if I'm totally honest. But people really did. Like, some people took proper umbrage with what we were doing. But with the Metal to the Masses competitions that we went into, we dealt with quite a few metal, like real elitists then as well. But I think it just added fuel to the fire, man. Like, if people didn't like it, good. Like, people were talking about it. Like, some people loved it, some people hated it. It brought all that energy into the room together, and it really kicked off. But what I liked is that we turned up at a show. What I always wanted was for someone to come to our gigs and see us and stick around, like, rather than just come for your friend's band, then go away and leave and stand outside. When you set up a big set of turntables, a big synth rig, and you got Coleman, who came out with a great big mask on, people say, "Oh, I want to see what these guys are going to do. Like, whether I'm going to take the piss, or whether this is going to be something a little bit different." And I like to think we provided something a little bit different, a little bit fun. You were there for some of those early shows.
I was even in the music video. So for Psychotic Euphoric,
You were Psychotic Euphoric, weren't you?
That was a hell of a night. I loved doing that film.
It was good times, wasn't it?
You know,
that was really good fun. You know what? There is a behind the scenes thing, and we never released it because we never released the full video. We never released the full video of that one. We wanted to have we wanted it to be more of a live thing, and the people that were shooting it, they wanted it to be more of a story. But when I saw the initial cut, I didn't like it, and I wanted it to be more about the live vibe, because we built that whole stage on the back of that house in Crayford. And then I remember we went around flyering all of our mates' neighbours to say, look, this is happening. If it upsets you, give us a shout beforehand, but we're going to be filming on this date. Feel free to chime in or come over and see what's happening and stuff like that. And we got to the end of the first take with a great big scaffolding that was at fire at the back and us playing on the stage and about 100, 200 people in that tiny little garden. It was ridiculous. And I looked over after we finished the first round, the first song, the first shot, and there's all these people standing looking over their faces, and we're getting a round of applause in Crayford. That was good times.
That's definitely a core memory for me. I mean, I love it. It feels like every musician that steps onto the grounds, you know, for Bloodstock, etc., they come away with that absolute core memory that we were just talking about, whether it's backstage, campsite chaos, or a specific moment in the pit. Now, for yourself, when you look back at Bloodstock, is there a very first memory that flashes into your head or a funny story that crops up?
So, like I say, at the time, I was a lot younger and I enjoyed going to festivals at that time. I enjoyed going to Download. It was my first time at Bloodstock. And I went on with a coach full of people who were all there going up to Bloodstock, and they all know who I was. I didn't know who a lot of those guys were, but we were in a huge campsite with people orbiting around where Descent were. We weren't camping in the artist section. I think we were second to headline on the second stage, but we weren't camping with the artists. We were camping with all our mates and everyone that had come up with us. So the campsite itself was absolute chaos, and I remember getting an angry phone call saying, "Tom, we're on in 15 minutes. Where are you?" I was at the campsite. I was loving life. I was having a drink, and I think if you look back at some of that footage as well, I'm wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt that I bought from Game or something like that. I look like a festival goer who's been there and hasn't washed for like 3 days. I look like I've rocked up out the campsite onto stage, and that's because I'd literally rocked up, walked past the band that had come off before us, gone on stage, and we had a great time. That was a fun show. The Wall of Death was insane. It was insane. It was really, really cool. People really came out for it, and I was over the moon.
And 2 years later, you ended up playing Download as well. Now, would you say that you turn around and say that you didn't do a put in a lot of work, as it were? I hate using that, but just trying to quote you there. But would you say that your ethic towards the gigs, etc., and the attitude that you brought with you changed when you came to Download 2 years later?
I don't know. To say I didn't put in the work, we put in the work into the record and to what we were doing at the time and to the actual live performance itself. It's just I don't know. I wasn't waiting behind stage, getting ready, doing my keys and la 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 waiting to go on. And then with Download, the first time we played was the Baldy Takeover, so we weren't part of the main festival. We were on the Thursday evening, but we were headlining that stage. There was no one else to go and see, and that felt like we were headlining a stage at Download. It was absolutely insane. There was nowhere else for people to go, so people came to see us, and it kicked off. It really did. They had to stop people from coming into the tent because it was too much. And from a guy that plays gigs at the Red Line in Dartford, and then getting everyone at the end to do an encore, that was insane. It was like we were so naive to it. We didn't expect to get an encore, so we did our whole set. We didn't have any more songs, so we played another one again. We said, which one did you really like? And we did that one again off the new album. So, yeah, it was cool.
I was going to say, let's talk about albums then. So fast forward to your latest major collaborative push, Turn to Grey. You leaned heavily on your melodic death metal roots on that album. You actually snagged Björn Speed Strid from Soilwork to guest on the track Vortex. Soilwork is an absolutely legendary rock stock. What was it like collaborating with him? How much did sharing the mic with one of the genre's true pioneers push you as a vocalist?
I think Soilwork is one of those bands that we all liked. Like everyone in the band really liked. Mainly Paul and Callahan. They love their Swedish melodic metal, and they really like that kind of stuff. That was but Soilwork was one of the bands that really resonated with me as well. I really liked. I took a lot of influence actually from some of their stuff back in the day. It was then Dark Tranquility. Good God, it's a different era, isn't it? When you look back. But yeah, working and hearing myself the first time I heard the song and the demo coming back with both me and Björn on the mix. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That is really pretty cool. But I think I held my own, to be fair. If I'm totally honest, I didn't try doing anything different. The way that I did it, the way that I would usually do it. But I think hearing them next to each other, he's got a different style to me. Like his melody is insane. Some of those highs that he can hit are absolutely, they're absolutely beastly. That's not me. But with the aggressive vocals, I think our vocals mixed quite well actually, and I think it was really really cool collaboration to have done.
Nice. What Silent Descent has always operated on its own timeline, building this really passionate cult classic following that still streams your tracks religiously. So, what's the current status of the camp right now? Are you and the guys actively throwing ideas back and forth for new material, or are you focusing on other creative avenues at the moment? Because I also recall that you are or was the vocalist for Thumbscrew and the Switchblade Barbers.
Thumbscrew and the Flick Knife Barbers, yeah, the Thumbscrew and the Flick Knife Barbers. So, Thumbscrew's coming back. Thumbscrew's coming back. I had a practice with the boys last week. It's been a long time since I've seen them. Thumbscrew and the Flick Knife Barbers started out as a little project that I didn't tell anyone about. It was, I think it was my creative kind of getaway from Silent Descent, because I wasn't used to having any of my stuff known by anyone, and then all of a sudden, bam! Like you do Silent Descent, and everything that you do is listened to by a load of people. And I think I needed to get out of that headspace. I just needed to do something that was different and separate and that nobody knew about and was underground again. And I went to a show and no one knew who I was, and that was great. I enjoyed that.
So looking towards the future as well. Now, I saw a post on your Instagram. You guys are officially on the market for a new guitarist because Oxley, your much loved guitarist, he's relocated to China. Yeah, it does make occasional gigs to Gravesend a bit of a trek. Now, you've laid out some very brilliant but highly specific criteria for your applicants. I mean, they must have their own guitar, be able to drive, although, quote, not necessarily well, and have all their own fingers, and ideally not be an air guitarist. I mean, that ticks all the boxes straight away. So how are the auditions looking in your DMs for that so far? And more importantly, have you snuck a little PPS at the bottom of that post saying that the album's coming along nicely? Can you give our listeners a little exclusive on what this new music's sounding like?
So me, Paul and Callahan have never stopped writing. Really, we always do, and I think me, Callahan, and Paul are really what the Silent Descent has always been. We write, and then we get our other guys in, and they put the finishing touches, and then we go to the studio and record it. But I don't think anyone would take offence when I say really the main writers behind it is me, Callahan, and Paul. Oxley used to be a big cog in that as well. So Oxley, not so much in Duplicity. In Mind Games, bless him, he threw in about 1 million ideas and they all stayed on the studio floor. But with Turn to Grey, Oxley had a lot more input in Turn to Grey. So it was a shame, actually. It was a real shame that he moved to China because he's irreplaceable, really, Oxley. But again, we've had loads and loads of people come through with the interviews. We said we were putting it off for ages because I was hoping that Oxley was going to be able to do it somehow. But really, I think our main criteria, if we want to get gigging again and doing some live shows, is that we need people that are local. And we've had loads of auditions come through, and some have been absolutely awesome. One guy, I thought, that's the guy. That is definitely the guy. Look at the thing; he comes from Paris. Like, yeah, it's closer than China, but dude, like.
A bit further away from Gravesend.
Like specifically, you've got to be, and then another guy from Belfast, another guy from the States. You're like, oh, come on, man. So there's a few. We're auditioning someone tomorrow, and there's a few really really good applications come through. So I'm really looking forward to sitting down and chatting with them, because it's also always been really really important that we get on. And we get on creatively, and that we gel, kind of thing. Because otherwise, you can be excellent guitar player, but sometimes it doesn't always work out. So yeah, that's where we're at with the guitarist front at the moment. Yeah, we haven't stopped writing. We've been writing this album for the last, I suppose, 10 years. I suppose, going back in time, something that might have been better for us if we capitalized on the hype of Duplicity straight after Duplicity, like a year or two afterwards. We could have kept that momentum going. But I think we've always been, it's got to mean something to us to put out. And I've been really, really proud of every record that we've done and that we've put out. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm certainly proud of those albums and what we did with them. And with this one, the album that we've written is pretty much done, and it's unforgivably us. So it's all the elements of Silent Descent, if you like Silent Descent, that you'd want. So it's got your trance, it's got your synth, it's got your big heavy bits, it's got your hooky choruses, it's got your it's got a bit of, I like to say, a little bit more like depth in certain places as well. It's got its little twists in everything. We don't stick to the old, you've got to have a song that's 2 to 3 minutes. There's some catchy little ones on there, but I've always liked an album as an album. And if you can listen from an album from start to finish, it should tell you a story. It should take you on a little journey. And we've got some beasts on this album. I'm really proud of it. I can't wait to get it done and get it out. It's a bit of nostalgia for people, but we've never stopped.
And that's one of the things I love about you guys. I mean, it's like every time I've heard your songs, you can tell it has been a labor of love, from Anagram, Psychotic Euphoric, I Can, I Will. I love every single one of those tracks, and I cannot wait to hear when the new stuff comes out. So, guys, a new album on the horizon, a global search for a 10-finger guitarist. You'd love to see it. Tom, thank you so much for joining me on the show today, mate. Absolute legend. So,
thank you.
Guys, if you can play guitar, kind of drive, and want to join the Metal Madness at Silent Descent, go slide into their DMs. And as always, if you ain't headbanging yet, what the hell are you even doing? Tom, thank you so much for joining me, mate.